Welcome to another episode of Beyond Basics. The conflict between Israel and Palestine rages on, a seemingly endless cycle of violence and despair. In Ukraine, the shadow of war casts a long and ominous shadow. These are but two examples in a world seemingly addicted to conflict. Is this our fate hardwired into the very fabric of our being? Are we as humans destined for war? To answer this daunting question, we must delve into the science and history of human conflict, exploring the deep-seated psychological forces that drive us toward violence. From the dawn of civilization, humans have engaged in conflict. Wars have been waged over territory, resources, and ideology. But what is it about our nature that makes us susceptible to such destructive tendencies? To understand this, we must first journey back to our evolutionary roots, to the time when survival was a daily struggle. The persistence of conflict throughout human history suggests a deeper underlying cause. This is not to say that war is inevitable, but rather that understanding its roots is essential if we are to ever hope to build a more peaceful world. In this video, we will explore our evolutionary inheritance of destruction, group identity and fear, political manipulation and war, anger, revenge and retribution, and finally, empathy, cooperation and the path to peace. Life for early humans was harsh and unforgiving. Survival was a daily struggle against a hostile environment, scarce resources and competing tribes. In this brutal crucible of natural selection, aggression was not merely an option, it was a necessity. Those who were willing to fight for food, territory and mates were more likely to survive and pass on their genes. Deep within the human brain lies the amygdala, an ancient structure that plays a crucial role in processing emotions, particularly fear and aggression. This almond-shaped cluster of neurons acts as a rapid response system, triggering the fight or flight response when we perceive a threat. While this mechanism served our ancestors well in a world of immediate physical danger, it can be maladaptive in our modern, complex society. The legacy of our evolutionary past is evident in the speed and intensity with which we can be driven to anger and violence. However, we are not slaves to our biology. Understanding the biological underpinnings of aggression is the first step towards mitigating its impact. Humans are social animals. We crave belonging and connection, but this innate need for community can have a dark side. It can lead to tribalism, a powerful force that divides us into us and them. This us versus them mentality is deeply ingrained in our psyche, a vestige of our evolutionary past when belonging to a group meant the difference between survival and extinction. Fear is the fuel that often ignites the flames of conflict. Fear of the unknown, fear of the other, fear of scarcity. All these anxieties can drive us to view those outside our group with suspicion and hostility. This fear-driven tribalism is often exploited by those in power who use it to manipulate populations and justify violence. The challenge we face is to transcend this primitive instinct, to recognize the common humanity that binds us all. This is not to say that we should abandon our cultural identities, but rather that we should strive to build bridges of understanding and empathy across divides. The shadow of leadership, manipulation and war. Throughout history, leaders have exploited our innate tendencies towards tribalism and fear to wage war. Charismatic figures, driven by ambition, ideology, or a lust for power, have risen to positions of influence. Wielding fear and nationalism like weapons, they paint their enemies as existential threats, dehumanizing them in the eyes of their followers. Propaganda, the insidious cousin of persuasion, plays a key role in this manipulation. It distorts reality, spreads misinformation and fuels hatred, creating a climate of fear and suspicion that makes war more palatable. Through carefully crafted narratives, leaders can convince their populations that violence is not only necessary but just. Recognizing the tactics of manipulation is crucial if we are to resist the siren song of war. We must be critical consumers of information, questioning narratives that promote fear and division. The cycle of violence, anger, revenge, and retribution. War is not merely a political act, it is an emotional one. Anger, hatred, and the thirst for revenge are powerful motivators, fueling cycles of violence that can last for generations. Each act of aggression begets retaliation, perpetuating a seemingly endless cycle of pain and suffering. Consider the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine. Decades of violence have left both sides deeply scarred, their narratives intertwined with stories of suffering and loss. The desire for revenge, passed down from one generation to the next, becomes a powerful obstacle to peace. Breaking this cycle requires more than just ceasefires and peace treaties. It demands addressing the underlying emotional wounds, fostering forgiveness, and promoting reconciliation. A glimmer of hope, empathy, cooperation, and the path to peace. Despite the darkness, there is hope. Humans are not solely driven by aggression and fear. We are also capable of empathy, compassion, and cooperation. History is replete with examples of individuals and groups who have reached across divides, choosing dialogue over violence and building bridges of understanding. The path to peace lies in nurturing our better angels. It requires fostering empathy, promoting education, and facilitating communication. We must create spaces for dialogue where grievances can be aired, differences can be understood, and shared goals can be identified. The journey towards a more peaceful world will be long and arduous. It will require courage, patience, and unwavering commitment, but the alternative, a world consumed by conflict, is simply unacceptable. We must choose hope over fear, unity over division, and peace over war. For more such videos, share and subscribe Beyond Basics.